We're going to start out with the sanding block, the foam sanding block with the 3M sanding discs, and we'll start out with the 1000 grit. We're going to pick an edge and we'll sand, and we'll stop every once in a while to take a look and see what it looks like as we progress down deep into the clear coat and through it. I could get into so many things here, but we're just going to stick to sanding through, what it takes to sand through, how long it takes to sand through, and then what it looks like as we go through, as we go down through the orange peel effect, down in through the peaks and valleys into the depth of the clear coat, and down through it into the paint. Each time I stop and get started again, I'll apply more and more pressure until we get through the clear coat. I also want to bring you in close every once in a while, in between stops, kind of give you an idea of what it looks like as we keep getting deeper and deeper. For those of you who haven't really tried wet sanding yet, .1000 grit will be the lowest number I go in terms of coarseness when correcting blemishes on clear coat. You go anything below that, you're talking about major body work. I know some people will start out at 600 and 800. I never start out at that kind of aggression. I never do any kind of correction with that kind of aggression. I'll show you at the end what 600 grit looks like on an air sander. After all that time with 1000 grit, we are finally through on an edge. So you can kind of get the idea of what it takes and what it would take to do that on a flat surface. Okay, I went and I kept going down into the primer. So you can see the different layers here. Hopefully I can get the right angle for you guys to see this. You can see where the clear starts and stops, where the paint starts and stops, and then where you enter the primer. So it gives you an idea of the layers. We're also going to do this with 3000 grit, and just a heads up, I'm going to do this in real time. We're going to stop and start a few times for those of you who have no experience sanding and haven't done this before, so you can get a look at the different stages. So those of you that are experienced can sort of fast forward to the end of this little stage here. I will get into this in more detail when we get to the next video and we're doing some correction, and I kind of break down the process a little bit more, but it is a great idea to have a depth meter gauge for layers on top of the panels. There are quite a few. I have the PosiTest 200D1. We will use that in the next correcting video. There are 3 models. There is the gauge that detects layers on top of metal. There are gauges that will detect on metal and plastic, so you can do your front and rear bumpers. And then there is a model that will detect all the layers. It'll tell you what the thickness of your primer, your base coat, and clear coat would be, which is a huge help. It would be manageable without it if you had a vehicle that wasn't touched, wasn't repainted, resprayed, fixed. But how many cars out there, have virgin body work where there's no dents that have been fixed or filled or anything? Because then you could go by factory thickness. The thickness of clear coat from factory is between 1.5 and 2 mils on average. That is the measurement of the clear coat. So that's kind of half the thickness of a wrapper on your pack of gum or pack of cigarettes. And it's ridiculous how thin it is, but it's actually getting thinner as companies get cheaper and cheaper. All right, so we're going to come in close. We have penetrated finally the clear coat after all that blabbering. So I'm going to run the camera back and forth, and hopefully you can, see the edge where we burn through, and you can actually see the beginning as we enter the primer. I'm going to clean it off a little bit with some polish so you guys can get a nice clear view. I went ahead, took the time to polish out those sanding marks so it would give you a better view of the different layers here, and I hope you can get it with the angle. I can see it, so I think you guys can too. You can see where the clear ends, the paint work begins, and you can see where we just about entered the primer. This one's more prolific here, so we can see the edge a lot easier there, and the primer, and the edge, and then the edge of the clear. So that gives you an idea right there. Okay, next up, let's burn through with some machines, and we'll start off with the 3-inch Greaves Garage. I think this actually makes a perfect sander. It's not too aggressive. It isn't the most powerful in the world, but it is a workhorse. It gets beat. It gets beat hard. It gets heated, cooled, thrown around, kicked, backed over, but this thing just keeps on going. So durability, longevity is not a problem with this. It's just a thing, crank up the power a little bit, it'd be great. So with the 1000 grit disc on here, with the hook and loop back and the hook and loop backing plate, foam backing plate, we'll just continually sand on the peak of this ridge here until we go through, and we'll stop maybe once or twice and take a look as we're progressing. While we're doing that, I can get back to the clear coat thickness. Again, factory 1.5 to 2 mils, and that includes the peaks and valleys of the orange peel sort of texture that clear coat has, unless it has been completely removed by wet sanding. Just about all paint finishes, surfaces have that texture. Some more prolific than others, some more obvious than others, but they all have it. And that thickness actually includes the peaks and valleys. So when you're sanding and you see no more peaks and valleys, that right there at that point, you are actually then just starting to correct the clear coat. You are starting to enter the surface, the top layer of that clear once the peaks and valleys are finally gone. That's one thing I keep an eye on. I really pay attention to that. I like to try to correct the scratch or the blemish without getting down and making that textured look, orange peel effect disappear whatsoever. Because if you do that, then it blends in perfectly with the rest of the panel. If you do have to go down below that point, that's the point of no return there. That means you want to do a great job with blending in. I have showed that before in other videos, and I'll try to hit it again in this next video when we go into detail for you. Let's come in and take a look here. You get an idea of what it looks like, and you can see the white residue that is the clear coat coming off. We are actually very close at this point. A little bit more and we will be through. So as you can see, it's not the horror story where you just lay the machine on the panel and it just instantly, magically, cuts right through the clear. That's going to happen if you go down below the 1000 grit into the lower numbers, the more aggressive numbers, which is ridiculous. There's no need to go below 1000 grit to start any kind of correction at all, and I don't recommend it. Like I have showed you many times, it's 1000, 3000, 5000, and an easy ultra fine polish, and it takes way less time. It's a lot safer than using your machines sitting there for 45 minutes on the same spot going back and forth. I have no patience for that, unless you really love being on the polisher, which I have nothing against that. It's just not for me. I like to cut to the chase, so to speak, and get it done right and get it done quick and move on. And again, after all this flapping my gums, we are finally through the clear coat. Let me grab the camera here, bring you in, and you can see what it looks like. I'm going to clean that up again with polish so you get a better look, but right there we're through. And this is what it will look like after I take a little time and polish out some of those sand marks. Gives you a little idea of what it looks like. If you see that anywhere on a vehicle, you know what has happened. Before we move on to the last little test here, I want to show you what it looks like as we're getting down, but not to the point where that orange peel or textured surface effect isn't totally gone. I'll just stand a little bit. I'm going to bring you in here, and hopefully I can get the right angle that you can see. Right here is what it looks like. This is right before the peaks and valleys are leveled off. When you don't see that texturing, you know, the dull and shiny spots mixed in there, that means you're into the clear coat and you are doing some serious correcting there. I try to avoid that the best I can. For the last little demonstration here, I want to use the air sander, and I slapped on a 600 grit disc. It is an adhesive backed sanding disc that goes on a 5.5 inch or 6 inch backing plate with no cushioning. It has maybe a 1/16 of an inch foam cushioning on the backing plate, so it's very, very, very aggressive to begin with. I only use this on large flat surfaces like roofs, trunks, and hoods, and maybe large quarter panels on a Chrysler Newport or something. And in no time at all, we are through the clear already. That is way too aggressive. It's not a method I would ever use, but I just wanted to show you that. That was with 600 grit, and that's with the air sander. Alright guys, let's wrap up this video. We're approaching the 15-minute mark. I appreciate you tuning in. I urge you to look forward to the next wet sanding video that comes out. We'll go into more detail. We'll go into depth with the tools. We'll get into more detail with the depth of clear coat and the gauges that measure. And we'll go into temperature. Catch you in the next one, guys.